how can you help us, though, continue to help you? First, please subscribe to the channel. Like us. If you listen to the audio version, leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. If you see our posts, please share those posts, share the content, and link back to our law firm website, which helps us to continue our SEO marketing and grow our firm and help small business owners. All right, everyone, welcome back to another show. I'm excited to talk to Jason. We're talking about the packaging business today. So we're going to talk about his business, his background. He's in New York where I am. And yeah, it should be a great show. So if you are listening on your favorite directory, leave us a 5-star review whenever you can. If you're watching us on YouTube, we really want to get more people watching the video channel and seeing our work and the discussions we have. So subscribe to the channel, like it, ring a bell. I don't know, whatever you do on YouTube to keep promoting it. Promote us on social media, and I appreciate that. I remind everybody that the information we share in these episodes is for informational purposes only. It's not a guarantee of success or to be considered as advice of any kind. And if you're going to do something or make a decision based on something we discuss, always check with local licensed professionals before you do that. So enough with the disclaimer. Jason, thanks for coming on the show on what is not a terrible morning. I mean, it's not freezing, right? Not yet, but we were just talking that more snow is probably on its way.
It's looking great outside.
Yeah, it's nice. Now, you're in what, Manhattan?
I'm in Manhattan.
Manhattan. Okay, yeah. So did you get as much snow as we did in
Oh,
Jersey?
yeah, I mean, practically.
Ridiculous, right? And you can't pass the streets, right? The sidewalks are probably a mess. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I moved my son to Fort Worth a couple weeks ago, and we got some of his. There was that other storm, right, a few weeks ago, and you couldn't even get into the building. You couldn't park. It was ridiculous. Then we had to move him out again. The rest of his stuff, I could barely get to the car because I had to kept going around the snow. I can imagine what it's like now. I wouldn't have been able to move out.
No, I'm glad you made us back safe.
Nuts, yeah. Well, I was stuck, I told you, in Arizona for 4 days until I get a flight. All right, so why don't we go backwards a little bit? I mean, you're a young guy, but still, you have a history and you have a background. Let's talk about, your background, your training, maybe college, other businesses, how you got started, and then we'll get into what's a great name, Packing Duck. I think it's great. Right. You don't sell duck, though. You do packaging. So for
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, yeah, it's a long story, but I'll keep it short enough.
Okay. Well, we got an hour, so
I came to America when I was 8, and we're just trying to figure it out. My mom and I were immigrants to this country, and we knew that our main goal here is to contribute, work hard, create value, and that was what I started to do when I was 8 years old. I was working in my family's restaurants. I was taking jobs here and there, and so I've just been working basically my whole life. And by the time I was 14 years old, I got introduced to making money on the internet by a friend in high school. You know how it is in school. Kids are either choosing one hobby over the other, and mine was browsing the internet, understanding social media, and figuring out how to learn marketing. And that's when I started. I was doing marketing for other brands.
Like affiliate marketing, where you would market products?
Yeah, I was doing affiliate marketing. I was selling different offers. I was selling e-commerce. I was promoting clothing companies. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what? If all these companies are paying me to promote them, why don't I create the products to sell so I can promote it myself? And so you're going to realize that every business that I start over the last decade is always going to be looking back, hey, that sounds pretty cool, but what if I do this to help what I did?
Right.
And so I went from affiliate to running an e-commerce business, and I did that over the last 10 years in apparel, home decor, beauty, supplements, you name it. I had a little stab at it. And about 2 years ago, I started
But you were doing it from a wholesaler standpoint, meaning you weren't making the garments.
Oh no, I was making everything.
You were have it all made?
Yeah,
yourself?
I was the person who architected the brand, the website. I made the website. I ran my own ads. I created my own product, my own packaging. I did it all before I hired people to do it.
Okay, wow.
And eventually I was like, you know what? I think I've had enough fun with the e-commerce side of the business. Why don't I go and be a supplier? Because amongst every single brand that I've ever started, the most common denominator between them was the packaging. It was something that stood out. It was a marketable asset. It was one thing that I loved doing. And so I jumped over to be a manufacturer by buying shares in different factories.
And I guess really any business needs packaging for the most part. I mean, I guess service businesses might not.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Actually are service business that have clients they want to do gifting to
Oh yeah, sure. And then it needs to be branded, right? Of course. Okay, so you do stuff for that too.
Yeah, we work with like VC firms who want to do branded AirPods and custom package that. We work with more national brands like Fiji Water and Vita Coco for their influencer campaigns. We do a lot of TikTok shops. So anything you can think of that you use comes in some form of packaging. Our company
Right.
handles that.
Got it. So you might help them with packaging of a product they sell, or you might help them like what we call corporate promotions, where they're branding and stuff like that. So you help them with those
Correct.
too. And you source because you're not making the iPods, the AirPods, so you source those out and get that done. So when you started in the business, what did you do? I mean, you said you're an immigrant, but that doesn't mean you have like necessarily connections in China. So how did you start
Yeah, I mean,
sourcing
I
all
had
that
no
stuff?
connections in China. The only connection I had was my family, which they were helpful in the beginning because I didn't know how to send money to China. I was 14 years old, starting my own. Well, actually, I think I was 15 at the time. I was 15, starting my first
Okay.
clothing company, and the way that I
Okay.
found my supplier was like everyone else. I went on Alibaba, I went on the internet, and
Right.
I looked up what I thought was a good factory, and I think
Yeah.
God placed people in our lives for different reasons. I met a wonderful supplier who's now my COO, my my sales
Oh.
agent. He
Okay.
was a sales agent making minimum wage, and he was so helpful to me. He was extremely loyal that he's now running my company in China. Um, so I found him. I thankfully still speak the language even though I moved here at a young age. So I built those relationships time over time, and everything that I've done right now is based on a relationship that I built earlier.
Very good. So it's timely. We had a guy on the show. I think his episode came out last Friday. Um, who has an AI driven website for sourcing products, not just China. I mean around the world. So if you like, if somebody doesn't have an immigrant background like you, they don't speak the language, they don't have anybody on the ground in these countries, they can literally go on instead of having to go on Alibaba. I think it's subscription based, but I think a lot of it is free for the small business owner. And you could literally say, "Listen, I want to source out a plush toy for my company," and it'll tell you, these three companies do it in these three different countries. These are the main corporations that buy from them. And it could facilitate all that stuff. So somebody who doesn't have your background or doesn't have your access, like you said, you just get
Right.
lucky that you connect with the right factory, but you don't get to like weed through factories or vet them out. These good guys do it with customs information. He's from somewhere in Asia, China, Southeast Asia, something like that. And he went to Cal Berkeley and he dropped out and he started this company, got VC money and everything. So it's a timely thing because a lot of business owners want to, source things overseas. And now, especially with the tariffs and everything, it's nuts. So you're always looking around. So, all right. So, but is the company more of a virtual company, or do you have people here and you have people in China that work that are, on your payroll and work physically?
I'm of one two people in New York, but everyone else is in scattered around the world. So we have some people in California, some people in Japan. I have a person in Russia, a lot in Southeast
Oh, really?
Asia, and then I would say 80% of them are in China, just because that's where our factory is. So we're pretty global. We cover a lot of time zones. We cover a lot of languages, and like you said, like you know everyone needs this type of service, and we want to make sure that we
Yeah.
are capable of servicing that. So that's why we're covering a lot of grounds.
Right. But it seems you position yourself more as a packaging company, not as a corporate
Oh
promotions
yeah,
company, because that's,
I don't go into corporate
yeah,
promotion. There's not a lot of money in it, unless we get a
right.
couple whales. But we make packaging for people who are selling to Target, and those people are ordering millions of units at one point. How many employees can that
Right.
be in one corporation?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What are you going to order? 10,000 units at the most if it's a big company for a promotional item. If not, it's not even that much, right? It could be hundreds, so that's no money to be made. So you started this company when you were 15?
No, no. I started my first clothing company when I was 15.
Oh, the
I
clothing
started
company.
Hacking Duck
Okay.
about 2 years and a month ago, and that was a pivot from a previous sourcing company, which is still existing, but the packaging business just started way too fast. So basically, as I was building my e-commerce business, I had a product and
Yeah.
sourcing team. So like whatever product we made, we had a centralized team that was sourcing, that was
Okay.
inspecting, that was doing the logistics, that was doing the design. And once I
In China. That's in
correct.
China?
They were my
Okay.
making my
Okay.
products, but once I exited those
Got
companies,
it.
I had to do something else with this team. And so I started a sourcing company where, Mitch, if you come to me and say, hey, I want to order 1,000 hoodies for my podcast, I can handle that for you. I'll find the best price for you. I'll negotiate. I'll manage the relationship for you. And I've been shipping. That was what we did. Was we basically, instead of doing it for one brand, we were doing it now for hundreds of brands. And that business was great in the beginning because
it was like a kind of a consulting business.
Exactly.
Sort of.
We didn't own anything, but we were helping you facilitate that. But the caveat is we didn't own anything, right? Like we were just a middleman at some point. And the challenge is that we were just sourcing too many products across too many categories for us to have any price advantage. Because really the advantage of a business model like that is, let's just say I hope I get 12 more Mitches asking me for hoodies so I can order 1,000 and get price for that.
Right. And me as an individual is not ordering as much. I don't get price
discounts.
discounts.
But if you work with us, who's working with 12 of you, you might get price discounts. So that's how the business model worked. And at some point we were doing hundreds of different categories, from headphones to glasses to slippers to plushies to all that stuff, where we just weren't really getting a price advantage anymore. So we sat down and said, okay, we need to pivot into an area where we can have a lot more expertise. Let's, like, what is that one thing that everything that we source right now have in common, which is packaging? It didn't matter if it's a toothbrush or a headphone or a washing machine, it all comes in a package. And so we sat down, in the next 3 months we started, taking out money from our business and investing into the different factories that were producing paper packaging, plastics packaging, bags, you name it. We were buying little pieces of interest in those companies, and eventually those interests grew over time.
Yeah, so how did you make that pivot? Like, so you weren't able to niche down in the consulting business where you're helping people with the supply chain, because I guess you couldn't say, okay, well, we have 5 hoodie companies, let's just deal with those and try to grow that. I guess that didn't make sense from a business planning standpoint, right? So then what was the business plan to go into packaging? Did you have even customers at that point?
Yeah, so, when we were doing sourcing, you're doing very generalized sourcing, right? So there will be customers that are asking for packaging. And so we felt some demand before we did the pivot.
So you had some people to
Exactly.
approach.
And it was actually a lot easier to earn clients to do their packaging compared to doing sourcing, because think about it, if you're making a core product within your business, it's very difficult for you to change suppliers, right? Like, the person making your headphone isn't going to change the supplier just because of one small thing. It's going to derail their entire business if it goes wrong. But packaging, it's a little bit easier to negotiate. Yeah, I think I can change my packaging if you can save me 2 cents here. It's a lot easier to negotiate. And so all the clients that we had on the sourcing front were pitched on this new business idea that we had, and 50 of them came over to become our first 50 clients.
Oh, so you had clients pretty much
from the get-go. We were profitable from the first day.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, right? Because if you have a supplier, let's say, making, like you said, hoodies, and they go in a box and they're using a company, they would just stop ordering the boxes and have you send the boxes over once you got them done and ready, and they would, the co-packer would pack them there.
And the other realization that really led me to start this business is that a lot of people didn't know who was making their packaging. It's a mystery. And the reason for that is because a lot of brands go to the person who's making their core product. Let's just say I'm making electrolytes. I need someone to make my electrolyte powders, Okay. I am so focused on formulating the powder that I'm just going to the person making my powder to make the pouch that the electrolyte comes in. Because the way that people think is, well, if this guy's making electrolytes for 100 other brands, they probably have the best supplier ready, right? They probably can do all turnkey for me. But the supplier most likely am not doing the packaging themselves. They're outsourcing to someone like.
Yeah, they're outsourcing, right? They're not a packaging company. They're
adding that extra 20-30% margin on top of it, putting it in the same line item. So when you're buying electrolyte, it just says electrolyte $2. But you don't realize that out of the $2, you're paying 40 cents for the sachet. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And so everyone was overpaying that I was talking to. And when I realized that, I was like, wow, there's a gold mine, because if everyone's overpaying by 40%, I just have to go lower than that.
Yeah, so how did you realize that? I mean, you seem pretty smart about figuring this stuff out.
I was just talking to people. There's no data. There's no, buying a research report. I was just talking to our customers.
You're like, where do you get the packaging? They go, I don't know. We get it from the guy who fills the stuff. So you figure. So then they were able to go to their co-packer and say, listen, we have a new supplier. We're going to provide you the packaging, and then you fill it. And they didn't care about that. I mean, they're losing a little margin,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
what can they do? It's the customer who wants it.
Right. They don't want to lose the
Yeah,
customer.
they're
right?
still making a lot of money off the main product they're making for them. The packaging was just a bonus cherry on top. But now you can't
Right.
take advantage of them and charge 40% on top.
Right. That's interesting. So did you have to find new factories in China that could make packaging, like printing factories and that made plastic moldings and things
Here's
like that?
where it's interesting because, like I said, everything that I do now comes from what I did before. The factories that we eventually acquired.
You've just progressed and learned and
The
grown.
factories
That's just
that we bought shares into were factories that produced for me, for my brands in the past. So I've used them in different capacity across different brands in my career. And so we've had that relationship already. They know that we're trustworthy. They understand the marketing power that we have to bring them client. And so I went to them and I said, hey, what kind of business are you doing right now? Like, where are you exporting to? And majority of them told me that they were exporting mostly to nearby countries and mostly domestic. And I was like, why is that? They say we have trouble selling to people in the US and the EU because of language barrier. We don't understand the culture well. We don't have a right sales team. We don't know how to train them to do it. So they just conform to whatever's easiest. And I was like, wait a minute, I can easily triple your business. If you just give me the opportunity to bring clients to you, I can triple your business. And it was based on that promise that over the next few months, we start testing it. I start bringing them more clients. And once they got to a point where they're like, wow, this guy's actually contributing a lot to our revenue.
Right, then they pay
Yeah, I was
attention.
given the opportunity to buy a piece of the company.
Oh, okay. So that's how you started, with a base of the company that existed that you could just buy into. So you control the company now? It's your company, or you're
Not
still a
100%. I am owning roughly 30 to 40%, depending on which factory.
Okay, and but you're running the company.
I'm
It's
running
on you.
Packing Duck, but operationally, I don't want to run a factory. Like, I do not want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to run.
So you own and operate Packing Duck, and then you also have a equity position in the factory, or multiple factories.
Yes, and that's how we're able to get pricing below market rates. That's how we're able to have a lot more flexibility in payment terms and whatnot. And for these factories that we work with, they get to maintain operational control. They get to still do what they love, which is manufacturing. All these factory owners, they don't want to do marketing. They don't want to do sales. They don't want to do content.
Right.
They don't want to do these stuff. They just want to know exactly what they have to do for a day, and they're really freaking good at it. And you have to worry about going to conventions. You know how much it is to open a booth at a Vegas convention as a supplier? It's $150,000 for if you're a supplier from China. You got to fly all your equipments in here. You got to rent a booth for 3 days. You got to fly all your personnel, hotel rooms, everything. It's 6 figures.
It's a lot of money, right? And you have to build a booth too, right? I mean, they don't just give you a
And they
booth.
don't get a lot of clients from that. You get maybe, out of the people that walk through your booth, hundreds of them, maybe you get 20 contacts, and of the 20 contacts, maybe half will convert to a client, and they might be ordering 1,000 or 2,000 because there's no telling if they're whales or not. Through the system that we're building right now,
So you never get your money back.
so many don't. It's like a billboard.
Right.
You're just getting exposure. Sometimes you'll hit a whale who hits you up, but most often time you're losing money on it. We're averaging around 90 to 120 new increase per week right now.
From
Instagram.
where? Yeah, are you doing all?
I'm making short form content. I'm showing people behind the scenes of how things are made. I'm breaking down how much a Rolex box costs. When you buy a Rolex, it comes in a nice green bag and a green box. I'm breaking down the cost.
Yeah.
So like I'm breaking down things that people have interactions with, they're curious about, but they don't really know what's behind the scenes about it. I'm going through how the boxes at Amazon is made, how much waste goes into this category, all these stuff. So every single day I'm making these content, and these contents are getting thousands of views, some of them millions of views, and I'm getting way more increase through that than buying $150,000 booth, and that's my value to these factories.
Right. And the factories, they don't know any better. Like, that's their old school. That's the way you would do it. You would go to trade shows. You'd maybe put ads. I don't know how you would do it, but you're younger, so you know social media. So it works. So you don't go to any of these trade shows, right? You don't spend any more. Like,
no,
why?
I mean, I may walk the floor and
Right, but you're not
yeah, I'm
getting a
not going to
booth.
booth. And we're not doing cold email outreach. We're not doing any of the traditional media. We're focusing purely on integrating technology to work faster. And so we're building our own AI platforms for packaging. We're building a tech-enabled manufacturing business that is drastically different than what's out on the market today, because it's just so inefficient the way that we're doing things right now. Factories have not really been innovated in the last couple of decades in the way that they conduct business. And it's because the people in my category are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, which traditionally that's what it takes to be a factory owner. But I'm trying to show that there's a new way to do it. There's a way to bridge the old crowd and the new crowd, right? We the operational excellence of people who've been doing it for 20, 50 years, but you also need people who understands technologies and marketing and systems in order to modernize the business and really scale. And that's why my partners and I work really well together.
Got it. Yeah, no, people in my generation, I mean, we grew up with nothing. It wasn't until high school that computers start coming around and cell phones, and there was no social media, none of that stuff that existed, So
but you have to adapt with the times. I think so many.
Yeah, of course, but you can only adapt so much. So your advantage is that's all you knew. So it's, a lot of my colleagues, look, I'm in law, and a lot of my colleagues are, like, they don't get it. They don't get the marketing stuff. I'm constantly marketing stuff. And, there's some things we have restrictions. You don't have, like, ethical rules and things you have to worry about. But I think, like, opening up, lifting the veil on that kind of stuff is interesting to people. Like how they make a Rolex box and how much it costs. I think people, even if they're not in the business, they're like, oh, that's interesting, and then they share it with other people and, stuff like that, because people are just curious and they like some, not surprised that you get a lot of hits. So it's mostly Instagram, or are you doing other platforms?
We're cross-posting on TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. And, like you said, it's these content that really hits the consumers that leads us to get exposure to the B2B clients. Because like most B2B content are not good. They're long form essays, they're articles, they're slideshows, they're not sexy, they're not shareable.
Boring.
Exactly. So my angle was get my foot through the door with a more consumer friendly content, something that my mom, my aunt, my friends could watch. But through them watching, it builds up the momentum, it'll hit the right people. We got some of our biggest clients through videos like that. For you to get a client like Fiji Water or Vita Coco, you would have spent so much money in the sales process, whining, dining them. You gotta take them out. You gotta meet them at a convention. There's no way I would have been in the same room as these people unless I was making content.
Right. Yeah. No. Because then you connect with somebody who's maybe their spouse works at Fiji Water, and they follow you, and they start seeing all this stuff, and then one day they go, you know what? Call Jason at Packing Duck. They seem to know what the hell they're doing.
That's exactly right.
Right, exactly. Content works. I get calls for that too. I'm blogging, putting stuff out all the time, and I try to tell my colleagues, I coach for free. I help my colleagues who have small law practices. I'm like, you got to do this. You got to do it regularly. You got to put content out. You got to show people, because it builds confidence. And they probably think, well, you must know what you're doing because you understand the business. So let's talk a little bit about like your business structure, because you didn't go to business school. Did you go to college?
No, I went for a semester in community college just to like kill time.
And you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I didn't drop out until I made money, because like the internet was still a Wild West. I didn't know if that was going to be the thing that will be a long-term income for me. I was making some money, but so I still did a year of community college because I wasn't that good academically. So I felt that I could do a community college and transfer into a college or like a proper university and study computer science, because at that time that was all the rage. I remember a year into school, I just wasn't there mentally because I was working. In class, I had my laptop out, other people were taking notes, I was on Shopify, I was running ads. And I didn't drop out until I hit $10,000 a day. That was what I told myself. I wasn't going to leave school until I made enough money for me.
You were making $10,000 a day at one point in affiliate
revenue? As soon as I hit $100,000, so that took about 7-8 days. As soon as I hit $100,000, I left school. It was final season, so I left right before finals.
No, you didn't even finish.
No, like that was for me. It's like I cannot walk back because I did a full year and I skipped out on finals. That means I have to go all in on this.
Right. Yeah, you're all in. So that's interesting, because I told you the other guy I just met with about supply chain and things like that. He was smart. He went to Cal Berkeley, dropped out. actually took time off, but it worked out. And he was like, I'm not going back. What do I need the degree for? I got VC money. We're building this platform and so forth. So where do you think like you got your business acumen then? Because it seems to me that you understand things better than most when it comes to this whole e-commerce world and packaging and everything. You've kind of figured out along the way. But you don't have a lot of formal training. You didn't finish college. You definitely don't have a business degree. So where does all this come from, you think?
Yeah, I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family either. My mom's a homemaker, my
Okay.
dad's in construction. Um, I think I attribute a part to just something in my blood. I think Chinese people are just business people in general. Um,
Okay.
I'm just very observant. When I moved to um, the United States, I was just observing people around me. I was looking at my friends, family. What did they do to afford such a nice house? Oh, they did business. They let me
Yeah.
study. Let me ask them questions. Let me learn about their perspective and their insights. I just knew how to insert myself into the right room and absorb like a sponge. I had no business being in some of the rooms that I was in, and
Right.
fortunately, I was
You just wanted to learn everything. So you're
yeah, I
self-taught.
was allowed to be in there, and people gave me so many help. I have great mentors along the way, and it was easier being 18 because when you're 18, everyone wants to take you under their wing.
Right. Everybody wants to help you. Everyone wants to mentor you. Right. It's true. It's true. People want to help the younger
Great.
people. So yeah, mentoring is a big one. That's good to know because a lot of people, I tell them, find a mentor, find an advisor, find somebody you can bounce ideas off of, learn from somebody who's
Yep.
successful. When I first got started, I think I had coffee with a different guy that I knew was a successful person every month for like the first three
Yeah.
years. Started running out of people to talk to, but yeah, because you just want to pick their brain. And you're right. I mean, I wasn't 18, but I was early 20s. They were more than happy to
100%.
to
Like if
help
you're
me.
listening to
You
this
know,
podcast and you're in your teens and your early 20s, you have such an advantage to being in rooms that you don't deserve to be in because people just want you there to absorb. And
yeah, that's just going to
yeah,
help you.
and you got to take advantage of that. You got to take advantage of the fact that you're young and you're learning because you're not a threat.
Right, right. They don't look at you as a
Yeah,
threat at
they just
all.
want to help you. And so I really, by the grace of God, got a lot of help along the way, and I'll always give credit to those people.
This podcast is brought to you by our affiliate sponsor, iEmployee. iEmployee is a virtual assistant service that hires almost anyone for any role in your company right out of the Philippines. Most roles range from $7 to $9 an hour for highly skilled and experienced VAs. And whether you need an executive assistant, social media manager, video editor, customer service, sales, you name it, they have it. We use iEmployee for our VA services, from editing and promoting the podcast to all the PR and promotion of our law firm. iEmployee acts as a virtual field supervisor on the back end with live video monitoring and reports on a daily basis with screenshots of your VA's workday, and along with complete HR and payroll duties. No more paying for overpriced and underqualified workers. There's a link in the show notes to get a 1-week free trial, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. Maybe you're getting your calendaring from one software and you're invoicing from another. Even is a platform that we use as one of our sponsors to run our entire business. And there's other features like auto payments and integrations with QuickBooks. Visit evonu.com, evonue.com to learn more. There's also a link in the show notes. And be sure to tell them that the Accidental Entrepreneur referred you.
Right? If you're a brand selling a product like that, you're talking to 3 different factories. With us, you talk to one person. Think about the savings in time, the efficiencies, and most importantly, if we're doing all 3 products for you, we can bring the price down together. Everyone wins in this scenario.
So the early businesses were really just you, like you're selling online, you're doing affiliate marketing, things like that. So what was the business strategy? Like, how did you build this business up from a planning standpoint? Because you got a lot of moving parts, right? You have you have the factory
Yep.
in China, who you eventually hired the guy. You said he's your COO, but he's over in
Mhm.
China, so he manages all this stuff. And then you're here. You're always in New
I'm in New
York.
York. I fly back 4 times a year, and then my co-founder, my CFO, is in China most of the time. Between that and Middle East, so we try to cover most of the world because when something goes wrong, you gotta be there to catch it. And so in manufacturing, it's a it's a decision that you have to make in real time when something goes wrong, and so we're always up. Um,
So you're the CEO. You have the CFO. You have the
yep.
COO, and then what was my question? So well, what's the business structure? Are you all partners? Do they work for you?
So I started the
What's the
company
setup?
first, and then I brought on these partners to do it with me from my previous company. That's the sourcing and logistics company. When we pivoted, we started, and I just brought them over.
They were part
Yeah,
of the
they were
team.
part of the team, and yeah, no, they've been great. Like they've been with me for the last 10 years. It's really hard to have partners that last for 10 years over time.
Yeah.
As you're aware. So, I really am grateful for the right people being in my life, because I've heard so many horror stories of bad co-founders
Horror
who
stories. Yep.
terrible
Terrible
embezzle
stories.
and whatnot. I didn't have to go through any of that, thankfully.
Yeah, on the attorney side, I get people call me all the time. I found out my partner's stealing from me, or we got to shut the business down because it's not working, and we're fighting over this and that, and they don't have agreements in place, and all that kind of stuff. It gets a little crazy. So you handle a lot of the sales and business development.
Yeah, a lot of the front end, because the content comes in through me. I handle a lot of the initial conversations, the consultation, and then I'm also on every single project too. Like I'm CC in over 800 client projects at any given time. I'll wake up 1,000.
Well, that's hard.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a lot. You don't want to do that forever, but you're
But for now, like I want to be there. Like we're only 2 years in, so it's not for me to just set it aside. But I'm in every single client combo. But it gets handed off to a project manager team, who gets connected to a procurement team. So we have a PM team who's front facing. That's the person who's talking to someone like you, Mitch, like talking back and forth. Then we have the production team, who handles the operations of the factory. So like Mitch, if you want to place an order, you talk to the PM. The PM triage the
project manager.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then me and my co-founders, we're just there to escalate anything, any questions that our PMs can answer, anything that they want our advice on. We give consultations to our clients too, outside of packaging. We help them if they have marketing questions, because of my background in e-commerce. If they need a lawyer, yeah, you can use my lawyer. Some of them come to me for my CPA. So like, yes, we're a manufacturer, but we have a relationship with our clients that's so much deeper than a traditional vendor and client relationship.
Right. Well, it gives them less reason to be able to leave. It makes it a stickier relationship.
100%.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're pretty organized. Your organizational chart, where everybody kind of fits in, how it flows, stuff comes in. How does it come in? If somebody follows you on Instagram, how do they end up in let's call it the funnel, right? How do they end up in the funnel? What happens? How do they connect with you? How does it happen? What's the process?
Either DM or email me, and so I talk to them. I ask them what they're looking for. If what they're looking for is what we can make, and if their quantity that they're ordering is up to what we're looking to produce, because we can't make 2 boxes, right? Like there's a minimum quantity that we have to hit. So if all those hit, then I introduce them to our team. I loop the rest of my team in, and we create a project for them. We create a group chat for them, and we continue the conversation from there. If they come through from our website, they fill out a form, and submit a form. Someone on our team texts them and say, hey, thanks, Mitch, for submitting an inquiry. We're working on it right now. Let me know if you have any questions. And here's the kicker. We send it from an iPhone. From an iPhone. It's a big difference. How many times have you filled out a form on a website, and after you click submit, it just says, thank you, we'll get back to you in 48 hours or something like that. And many hours later, they send you an email. But in between that, you're kind of like, well, I'm kind of just in this limbo until something happens. And I realized that it's very important for you to continue on the momentum of the relationship and give them that instantaneous dopamine.
Communicate.
So we have someone whose entire job, one person whose sole job is to talk to clients after they submit the inquiry form, to gather more information before the actual PMs are coming. So it's kind of like the nurse who's coming into the clinic and asking you, building the lab report, writing your name down before the doctor comes in. So we have someone like that.
Right.
To keep the momentum going until we have someone that is assigned to them. So there's 2 different funnels depending on how you contact us.
Got it. So, but there's a difference between, working the customer relationship and building rapport and connection and making them feel like, oh, I guess Jason's company cares about me because I place an order or whatever, or I send an inquiry maybe at that point. I haven't even placed an order yet, versus, company that's just treating you like a commodity. Like, okay, well, what do you want to order? Here's the order, and that's it. And then you don't they don't stick around. If they save 2 cents, they leave. Go to
Yeah, I mean, I was
business.
using funnel very loosely. We don't have a funnel.
Yeah, you don't have like a landing page where they get a free book
No,
about, packaging, the packaging business, right? I
we have
understand.
that for free. You can just download.
It's more of intake, right? You get inbound leads because of your outbound marketing and the stuff you do, and those may come through DMs or inquiries through the website or whatever, and then you respond and work them through your
Right.
process.
Yeah, I just didn't want to go through the landing page route, the funnel route. Even though I come from e-commerce marketing, that was all we do. For this type of business, I realized
Right.
that if you need what we're making and if we're really good at it, I don't need to do anything special to convince you otherwise. You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. I mean, what's an ebook going
Yeah,
to do that they can't see on your Instagram page or whatever?
exactly.
And Instagram's live. It's like, it's ongoing. It's
Hmm.
visual as opposed to a book that people may download. And then you get, I guess the real purpose of a book like that is really to gather someone's
Yeah.
email, right? And now you have them on your list. Now you can do the email marketing. But you said you don't even need to do that.
Yeah, not at all.
In
And
regard
on
to
the
this whole
topic of
thing.
Instagram, I was looking at the way that other manufacturers market themselves. They're not really focusing on the content and the visuals of what they make. You go to any factory's websites, like pick any one of them, 90 some percent of them do not have good visuals showing what they make. And so one of the first few hires that I made at Packing Duck, I think our fourth or fifth hire, was an in-house designer whose entire job was to make incredible visuals showing our work and then putting it onto Instagram. So if you go onto Instagram at Duck, D-U-C-K, you're gonna see renderings of all our clients' projects in the best light possible because we believe in showing what's the best version of your product against backgrounds of
Right.
we design. Um, and that
Yeah.
was really like a great way for us to generate interest for our clients because we just show them what's possible. It's kind of like when you go on to like I got this inspiration from Porsche's Instagram. When Porsche,
Okay.
there's a lot of lifestyle content of you driving your car down the highway. It's parked in front of your driveway. There's always a
Right.
visual of their car in different aspirational settings.
Right.
I simply apply that same concept but in manufacturing. I show what your box could look like. I show what your bottles could look like, what your jars could look like
Right.
in the best light possible.
Yeah. Yeah, because then it kind of shows them how you will feel when you own a
Mm-hmm.
Porsche, or how you will feel when your packaging is the right kind of packaging for your product. So it
Really
makes a
sets
lot of
the
sense.
anchor point
So,
for pricing. Believe it or not, the content that you push out puts an anchor on your pricing. If you make really poor quality content that's blurry, it's pixelated, it's not good, you charge the
yeah,
price that you want to charge. You're gonna have to fight to the race to the bottom. We don't race to the bottom on
right,
pricing. We set the price that we believe we want to set, and that's a premium usually.
right. No, you can't really, ultimately, you can't always compete on price with something that's a commodity like a packaging in someone's mind, right? You have to compete on customer service and perception of
Yep.
quality, because if not, you're eventually going to price yourself out
Yep.
of business,
That's
right? Just to get the job. We'll make it up in
yeah.
volume, but you don't. That's a myth, All right, so you paint a picture that you're this successful guy. It's always gone well. Everything's worked out. Can't be true, right? So let's talk about some like bumps in the road and obstacles and things that you've overcome that you learned either the hard way or you solved those problems. What were the difficulties
Oh, I'm
along the
glad you
way?
asked because whenever stuff like these happen, like these podcasts, and there's giant headlines of like XYZ, it seems like I did it all and nothing ever bad happened. I can tell you
Right.
for every one thing that worked out for me, nine things went wrong.
There you go. Yeah,
But
of
that's what
course.
separates most entrepreneurs from like the ones who stick around and the ones who throw in the towel is can you sustain a headwind of falling down nine times?
Right, to get to the 10th
Exactly.
one. To know that, oh, I just fell down, that's good. I'm one closer to the
Yeah.
success.
So my very first, what people call L's now, I had a blog with millions of followers. That was really the primary channel where I was promoting my affiliate offers, my e-commerce companies.
Okay.
I had about 30 some million followers in this network, and one day it just vanished. It got banned by the platform because
Why?
it's Tumblr, didn't allow third
Okay.
party advertising. This is before Yahoo bought them. They didn't allow third party
Okay.
advertising. And so because I was advertising so much on the platform that it caught some people's eyes, they banned 30 some million followers overnight.
Just lost the whole thing.
So think about how much revenue a $30 million network can bring, and that just vanished overnight. And so, thankfully, I
just because you didn't know the terms you didn't know the
I'm
Tumblr
not reading
terms.
the community guidelines.
It's too much to read, so you had no idea that you couldn't
promote. But I mean, I did it for a few years already, so it is what it is. But when that thing went down, I didn't have any revenue from the affiliate side. I had to go all in on e-commerce, and by that time, I was already building my e-commerce business, my clothing business, and so I had to learn how to run Facebook ads. I had to learn how to promote through other means, even though it was paid previously. It was free. Now it's paid. So I ripped off the Band-Aid and just went straight into learning how to do all these other stuff. So that was my first, setback. And then there were times where, you buy inventory, you do product launches, and it just didn't go the way that you want. And what most people don't realize is that a lot of e-commerce business are kind of swimming above the water of, we're hoping that these next 2 new product launches can do well, because if it doesn't, we're in deep trouble. Most e-commerce companies are like that, because the average margin for e-commerce companies are anywhere between 6 to 15%. You make $100,000, you keep at most $15,000. If you launch a product line for $50,000 and it doesn't go well,
you lose your money right away. I mean, there's not enough margin.
So you better hope that every relay is a successful relay, and that's why so many companies spun out and so many companies fail within the first years, because they cannot relay fast enough or efficiently enough.
They can't sell through.
A couple of times where we went through that. We had to go into credit card debt to sustain, to payroll, to keep the company running. I was wrapping hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt just the company running. And there's a point in the business where you just spiral, where the debt that you take on and the interest that you pay exceeds your cash flow, and that's the worst spiral. I went through that twice. And I got back from it because this is a good thing and a bad thing. I never put all my eggs in one basket. I'm never running just one company at once. And so when one company was going through trouble, I spun out a service company. I had a marketing agency where, I provide marketing services and it's entirely profit, right? 90%.
Right, there's very little
and
cost.
So I was making money on the service business to sustain the short-term losses on the e-commerce side. And that's how I got out of the holes that I got myself into. And, it's not sustainable, but at least I had a backup, right? Like, I didn't have to close the business down. I didn't have to fire everyone. I was able to sustain. But I think the ultimate story here is I just always had a way out. I knew how to be resourceful. I knew how to make money in very short term to make sure I can keep the lights on.
Like a backup plan or a cushion or another source of revenue, right? We always say that with businesses. If you have multiple sources of revenue and one of them hits a roadblock or you screw up, you still have those other ones to keep things going. I guess the hardest part is when you come to the crossroads of how long should I keep doing this? Like, when will it turn around? And if it doesn't, then sometimes you got to make some tough decisions. But it sounded like you didn't really have to do that. When you saw that one wasn't really working, you made a pivot to, look, not everybody would be able to kind of notice what was going on in the world like you did with packaging. It was just kind of where you were, the industry you were in, and you're like, well, what can we do? And it was kind of jumped out at you, right? I mean, I assume it didn't happen like in a dream. You were probably working on it for a while, trying to figure out where do we go next.
It was on the train. Right? We actually did it in about 40 some minutes on the train from Guangzhou to Shenzhen. Really? Yes. We were on.
And you're like, oh, that's good packaging.
Yeah, we're on the train to visit our factories as a client, and on the train we were still running the.
This is the ones that manufacture things.
Yeah, the factory that was manufacturing our packaging. We weren't a part owner in it yet, but on the train there, we sat down. We're like, okay, we're sourcing way too many things. We need to narrow in on something, and then packaging came up, and it was a perfect topic to start off when we're talking to our packaging supplier, which is, hey, do you mind if we triple your business in the next 6 months?
Right.
They're like, yeah, what do you have to lose? So in the next 6 months, I built out the system, I built out the leads pipeline, I show them that I can bring these clients and they convert into revenue, and that opened a door for me to buy in as a partner.
Yeah, so you bought into the factory. You put money on the table to allow them to expand their operations. Because I would assume that if you go to a factory and you say, can we triple your revenue in 6 months, they probably don't have the capacity to triple in 6 months,
No.
right? Unless they're just an unutilized factory.
Right. And so next week I'm flying back to China. We're opening our new location. So the factory used to be 1 floor. Now we have 3 floors. So I'm going back to open that one. And then 3 weeks later, we're opening a second one for plastics. So the first one's paper, the next one's plastics. So now we can do things like your shampoo bottles, your conditioners, your shaving creams, all packaged, right?
Yeah.
So, these 2 factories started off as 1 floor.
So it's the same company, though.
Two separate factories. So every factory handles one specific material: paper, plastic.
That's how it works
glass.
in China?
Yeah, they're all specialized. But
got it. So the plastic one is a separate company, separate factory, different employees.
Yep.
So and you're a partner in both.
And they also grew. They just got a new factory because of all the revenue that we brought in. But why brands work with us is because we can consolidate that, right? Think about how many glass jars with a plastic cap that goes in a paper box, right? If you're a brand selling a product like that, you're talking to 3 different factories. With us, you talk to 1 person. Think about the savings in time, the efficiencies, and most importantly, if we're doing all 3 products for you, we can bring the price down together. Everyone wins in this scenario.
So that's, you want to do complementary things. So are there any industries that you're more concentrated in from a customer standpoint than others, or is just
personal care and supplements are our 2 favorite categories. They are high volume. They are high SKU. So like personal care, there's usually hair shampoo, body wash, shaving cream, hair serum. Like there's 12 different SKU just for men's personal.
And people use it up, so they're constantly buying, and the company's constantly
the volume's the best there.
Got it. Same with supplements. You don't buy one supplement.
You need magnesium, you need creatine, you need everything.
So you're doing a lot of those plastic bottles that the stuff goes in? Got it. Interesting. So are there any brands that I'm familiar with that you guys do work for? Is it GNC, or are there more companies that I never heard
we
of?
supply to brands that sell into retailers. So those brands that we work with sell into the Vita Shop. They sell into the Costco's, the Walmart, the Targets.
Right. But it's their branded product. It doesn't say Walmart.
Yeah, they're just selling on the Walmart shelf. So like we do stuff for Quest bars, we do some stuff for Vita Coco, like I mentioned, and then a lot of our clients are actually like social media brands. Like the brands that we have that are the largest in our client book are not the national brands that you might be thinking about, because we're not doing all their packaging for Vita Coco and Fiji Water. We're just some parts of it. But the brands that we work with that are our highest volume clients are the people who are selling on TikTok. The new generation of sellers who our biggest client is a couple of 20-year-olds. They do $90 million a year.
90 million? What are they
Personal
selling?
care.
Personal care. They're just doing all specialty items or whatever, and they promote it on TikTok, right? Like influencers, basically.
They knew how to sell these kids, and when I say kids, we're in the same age range, but when I look at them, I'm like, they are so young, but they're so brilliant, and it's because they grew up with the technology. They grew up with the algorithm. We kind of adapted into it. They grew up into it.
Right.
And so they just understand things that we didn't understand. And in the same way that when I was 14 years old, I understood things that, people in their 20s didn't understand, because I was living on my computer. But these people grew up on the phones. They grew up on TikTok. They understand what kind of hook I have to say in the first 3 seconds to get you to keep watching. They know what to say to make you share to your friends. And they have so much power, and that's an immense amount of power to be able to reach 1 million people. Back in the day, if you can reach 1 million people, you can build an empire.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So they can promote almost anything
they
want.
They leveraged it into their own brand. It's brilliant. And a lot of our clients are young kids. They understand how to make content, and that's what led me to believe that a lot of the skills that people thought were specialized back then is a lot more commoditized. Like people know how to build websites now through AI coding. People know how to do product development by talking to ChatGPT on like, how do I make a formulation? How do I do this? That?
Right.
But content, that requires you to have taste. That requires you to be in the
Right.
know. And
Yeah.
these kids are just monsters at it.
Right. I wonder if in the future AI will also commoditize that. Like you'll be able to make videos and TikTok stuff quicker, and the AI will know, like, you know, what sells and what doesn't sell, and you know, so it'll be more accessible to people. I just increases competition.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah. I mean, you know, it's like I was just saying to somebody the other day. This is like the age of the small business, right? Small businesses now can do things that only large corporations used to be able to do, right? You and I couldn't have a small company and then advertise. We'd have to put up billboards, have to send out mailings, have to put things in magazines, go to trade shows, like you said. It's very expensive. But you and I can be a small business and get on social media and promote things really for free in a lot of cases that we couldn't do in the past. So it's really become, and then if you're younger and you really understand how these things work, you really get an advantage with what's going on. But I wonder where it's going to go when everyone, like you go down the road 40 years from now, and now your generation is 40 years older, and the next generation, it's just like everyone does it. I wonder what's going to happen next. Like, how do you keep getting an edge? How do you keep getting ahead? What comes next?
I mean, I don't even want to think about 40 years from now because, you know, 3 months ago than today, you know, like, last
changed.
night I just bought a Mac Mini to have my AI agent live on it, just like everyone else on the internet's doing right now. And last night I had it built a website for me in I think maybe 2 minutes. That I like 3 months ago, or maybe even 6 months ago, I would have paid a couple $1,000s for someone to build that. I did it myself in 2 minutes.
So what's a Mac Mini?
A Mac Mini is a computer. It's a Mac computer. Let me show you. It's this thing. Oh, you can't really see it, but
it looks like Apple
yeah,
TV.
yeah. It's a thicker Apple TV basically, but it's a computer. There's like 16 grams of RAM here. There's 500 hard drive and whatnot.
It's like a big Raspberry Pi. Remember those
It's
things?
exactly a Raspberry in a Mac operating system. And so I put an AI agent on it that runs 24/7. It's doing work for me. It's doing research for me. I have a mission control that tracks how much revenue we're doing, all my to-do lists. I have it do competitive research on like all the news and industry insights within my category. I have someone that's working.
And it's giving you reports every day.
I would have paid $80,000 a year for someone like.
You probably can't even one person do all that stuff. You need multiple people.
Exactly. Did you see like yesterday, Block, Jack Dorsey's company, Block, that owns Square, Cash App, he's used to own Twitter. They laid off 40% of their workforce, citing that, you know, there's more ways to do things efficiently. And so, you know, to your question, 40 years from now, it's really terrifying because all this happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, at the larger corporations and bigger companies, they're doing more with less people. And then I guess the smaller people will be able to do more, which is good. But look, the economy's going to have to get retrained. Things are going to change, just like it did last turn of the century when the industrial age came and people were like, oh, how can we have machines do things? People won't have jobs. Right. Some people lost jobs, and it just but you're right. I mean, it's going to be, I won't be around, but it's going to be frightening to see where this all goes in terms of tools. But you're right. I mean, you're doing things like a whole workforce, and it's in that little box.
And, you know, I think it's going to empower a lot more 1-2 person companies. You know, back in the day, when I started in e-commerce back in 2014, I did it with very little money. I started with a couple $100s to start my e-commerce companies. Years before that, it would have taken you thousands of dollars to set up a website and hire designers and hire a product person. And then years before that, to start a business, you got to go take an SBA loan, right? And so every few years, a new generation of tools come out to make things more accessible, right? I started in 2014, and I was able to do it with a few $100s just through very strategic ways of starting a company. But before that, it would cost $10,000, and before that, it cost $50,000. And now it doesn't cost you anything.
It's almost free.
Exactly, because things are more accessible, right? I no longer need a developer that I would have paid $200,000 a year for. I have a machine running it for me. And so you're going to see over the next few years a lot more people running their own companies themselves or with a partner instead of having 10 employees on payroll that's burning cash.
No, it's the age of the of the small business. I have people come on, they don't have employees like they used to. It's a virtual company. They have some employees. They do a lot of AI, like you said. Look, even in law, people are doing a lot of them you can form companies now on your own through the state websites. You don't need to hire an attorney to do it. I mean, people do it because they don't know, but they pay me to do it. And 10 minutes, I get them a company set up and going, and eventually they won't need me. They'll put it into AI and say I need to set up an LLC in New York and Colorado and Nevada, and the AI will do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually they'll get to a point, but I'll tell you that from the legal side, I still have my lawyers because I've done contract reviews through AI. I've asked them, hey, look through any loopholes, make sure this is ironclad, yada yada yada. Right. And then I give the same contract to my lawyers to look at, and they're like, oh my god, there's so many.
Yeah, the AI is not up there, right? I see that all the time. You don't know why it's there. So if the AI tells you this, you don't know if it's right or wrong. And there's things that I include in contracts that it'll get there 5 to 10 years from now, but right now it's not reliable enough.
No, for sure.
So it is kind of frightening. All right, so what? Tell me. I know the company's new, 2+ years of the current company. What's the future hold for you? What are the plans? So I'm sure you don't sleep at night, so you got strategic plans. You're always thinking about stuff. You got your AI running on the side. So what's the next kind of strategic plan?
The strategic plan is to turn us into a technology platform for all types of packaging. So eventually you'll come to a website, and instead of submitting an inquiry form and waiting for us to send you a text or send you an email like how we are right now, a year from now, you're going to be able to come onto a website and talk to our website like an agent. That's 24/7. It has all the knowledge that we know, and we'll talk to you, Mitch. You can be like, hey, I want to start this new company. I want to sell phone cases, and I want to do phone cases for iPhones and Androids. And here are all the models that we want to do. And I want it to be premium. I want this to go onto Target. You can just give me what you want, and our website, our AI agent, will be able to. We'll understand it. We'll be like, okay, if you want to do it for these phone models, we can immediately research what the dimensions and sizes are for. Right, we can look at what the best options in the market. Okay, we're gonna use these type of paper if you want to go into retail. We're gonna structure it like that, and these people are instant. And when I say people, I'm talking about AI agents. These AI agents would then consolidate all the information into a brief and triage it into a factory that either we own or is within our network. So right now, I own 3 factories, but eventually I will own none. Hopefully, none, because we will set the standard. Like the factories that we have right now will set the standards for other factories in terms of communication, pricing, quality, speed, responsiveness, and whatnot. Eventually, factories in Romania, in Poland, in Turkey, in
Australia, they all want to do business with you because you know what you're doing.
Because we have so many demand and leads, they will come onto our platform and apply to be a pack and duck factory. Very similar to like a Marriott hotel system. Marriott doesn't own majority of their hotels.
No, it's like a franchise company.
But when you walk into a 5-star Marriott, you expect the same level of service as the other 5-star Marriott, right? So we're building like the hotel system, but for packaging factory. The 3 factories that we have right now is really just here for data collection and setting the standards for what we think is the best factory. Then, for us to accept you into our website, you have to meet those standards. So eventually, Pack and Duck will have 200 factories around the world that have a Pack and Duck logo on it, and we'll just be the facilitator because we create the technology. We can treat the data for you, and we'll handle all the front end stuff for you. That the same stuff that we handle for our factories that they didn't want to do, we'll do it for all these other factories, and that's what I think will make us into a unicorn. It's not.
So you're programming that now. You're working on that now. Prototypes. Yeah. So the system you have now does make you money, but it's also a kind of a test platform for testing what you think the future is going to be.
100%. Like. For us to build this technology platform, we have to learn it from every single perspective. And you cannot build a $1 billion company as a factory. It's very rare. I won't say you can't build, because there are certainly some factories out there, like a car factory, that's worth $1 billion. For me, as a newcomer into the space, for me to create a $1 billion factory, it's got to take me decades. But if I build a technology platform that facilitates the transaction for factories, I can get there a lot faster.
Yeah, and private equity is going to want to buy you at some point, or some company that's big. It costs them too much to build something like this, and you did it. You have all the contacts. So, all right. So you said Instagram is @duck. is the handle. How about on the other platforms? Are you on LinkedIn if somebody wants to connect with you?
I'm on
or-
LinkedIn. Jason Wong on LinkedIn.
And is packingduck.com
Yes,
the website?
PAKING duck.com. That's us.
Got it. Yeah, play on Peak.
Absolutely, you got it.
But you don't sell duck.
We don't.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending time with me today and sharing the business and the whole model. And I think it's a testament to what's happening in our world with regard to all these small business owners. So thanks again, and we'll enjoy the snow next week.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
In addition to being a podcast host, I'm also a small business attorney, mostly providing legal services in New York and New Jersey. With over 3 decades of experience, we can handle most transactional issues. So if you're watching the show and you encounter some sort of legal issue, reach out to us and visit our website, beinhakerlaw.com. Thanks for tuning into the show and for continuing to support us.